Lawyers and Mike Flynn are talking to Robert Mueller with cooperation on the table. I want to turn now to our special guest. Senator Chris Coons is on the Judiciary Committee and has been overseeing several aspects of this. I want to begin on the Flynn news and your thoughts on whether cooperation would be on the table and what's the best course going forward.
Well, Ari, typically at this point in a federal prosecution, in an ongoing criminal investigation, you would break cooperation or coordination between the defense counsel to two potential targets and someone like Flynn, a potential target of the investigation. His lawyers would come forward for a meeting with the investigators where the investigators would offer the fruits of their investigation, would sort of lay out, here's what we've got on your client. And then there would be expected to be a proffer from Flynn's lawyers who would say, well, here's what we've got that might be able to help you further your investigation. And then there'd be a negotiation about whether some some immunity might be offered and what the scope of that immunity might be if Flynn flipped and cooperated. As you said, there's no proof yet that that's what's going on. But the severing of the agreement to communicate between defense counsels and the following meeting between Mueller's team and Flynn's defense team is strongly suggestive that they are exploring, maybe even negotiating, a cooperation agreement.
Right, and that meeting, as you mentioned, Flynn's lawyers meeting with Mueller's team, that's new tonight. I want to do one more question on Flynn and then turn to another issue that you have been pushing on the Russia issues. But on Flynn, he does have alleged legal exposure. As we always say, it doesn't mean we know that anything is going to come out of this investigation. But the public accounts show the failing to register the foreign lobbying, misleading FBI agents in the Russia probe, and then this report about discussing a bribery plot to kidnap a U.S. resident. Do you think those are his main areas of exposure, and that's what all this cooperation could be about?
Yes, Ari. I think former National Security Advisor Flynn has significant legal exposure, and those are roughly the areas where he failed to report, where he engaged in misleading investigators. And there are a number of cases where he has complicated relationships, whether with Turkey, with Russia, and where there's conflicts of interest between his actions as a member of the Trump administration and its senior national security team and his actions on his own financial behalf. Both he and his son are at some significant legal risk, and I think that's what would motivate them to cooperate.
So that's on the investigation side, and Senator, that was a big enough story that we wanted to get you on the record first there. The other big issue, though, is something you've been leading on, and it is admittedly a set of questions, you doing some oversight, demanding answers from the Trump Justice Department. The issue many people may remember is this very powerful prosecutor, a guy named Bente, who you said was suddenly forced to resign. Now, he's in the line of succession if Trump ever tried to remove Mueller. He was in that line beneath Rosenstein. And then now he's resigned, and you're asking them, quote, why it's justified. You also wrote you're deeply concerned about the timing given the indictments issued by Mueller. And if any of this did go past Rosenstein, it has been well established for everyone playing baseball cards at home that Bente could be a key player. My colleague Rachel Maddow on this role.
There's a case to be made that if anybody outside of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's office knows what's going on from the very beginnings of the Trump-Russia investigation, it's probably Bente, given his role in the Eastern District of Virginia, acting AG, acting deputy AG, National Security Division.
I don't want to make light of anything, and I don't know if you remember the movie Zelig, but this is the Russia probe Zelig, as Rachel says. He was everywhere, and there might be nothing wrong with that, and there might be nothing wrong with his resignation, but you seem concerned. Can you walk us through basically what you're asking for now and why?
Ari, I sent a letter to Attorney General Jeff Sessions over 2 weeks ago asking for an answer as to why Bente was forced out. He is a long-serving, respected senior federal law enforcement official. As you mentioned, he's played a central role as acting Attorney General, acting Deputy Attorney General, head of the National Security Division, U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District. It is rumored that he signed a number of the early subpoenas, and he's been involved in this investigation since its earliest stages. A president has the prerogative to dismiss U.S. attorneys, but not for an improper purpose. So I'm asking the Attorney General to clarify why Bente was forced out and why at this time. And that's because there's a larger pattern here. President Trump directly intervened with former FBI Director Comey, sat down with him and personally asked for his loyalty. He's been reported to have interviewed U.S. attorney candidates for several jurisdictions where the president has significant real estate holdings, something that's unprecedented and has been referred to as an improper interference in the U.S. attorney selection process. So I think the Attorney General could address this promptly. Earlier today, I met with the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and he offered his assistance in trying to get an answer in a timely fashion. I had asked Chairman Grassley if he'd consider holding a hearing on ongoing interference in the matter of the dismissal of U.S. attorneys, and instead he offered, and I greatly appreciate his offering, to communicate with the Attorney General and simply encourage him to answer my question.
All very interesting stuff, and we will be keeping our eye on it as well. Senator Chris Coons, thank you very much. I want to turn to the larger conversation. Brian Weiss, a criminal defense attorney who's represented former House Majority Leader Tom DeLay, and Joyce Vance, a former federal prosecutor under Barack Obama.